Hi, I'm Erin Penn, a developmental editor and submission reader for Small Staff Books. We're a small press publisher in the Carolinas specializing in genre fiction, such as science fiction, fantasy, mystery, horror, and a little romance in our Falstaff crush line. And today's video is part of the editing rants, what to do and what not to do to make your writing better. Today we're going to talk about distances. Really, people, what the heck? Maps! Use them! In the age of internet, look this shit up! The Atlantic Ocean to Chicago. In one book I edited a few years ago. In the book, was a 5-day horseback ride through zombie-infested woods. 800 miles in 5 days through zombie-infested woods on horseback. I can't even. So, let's just do the calculations. Not taking into account zombie problems and saying the woods are easy to ride on as open fields. You have humans and horses. They do about 30 miles per day if they're healthy and well provisioned. Again, we're ignoring the fact that the zombie apocalypse is here. So let's say the horses stay healthy the entire ride and do not need watering or foraging for grass or anything like that. 800 miles, 30 miles per day is like 4 to 5 weeks, not days. And do not get me started on the romance where the characters traveled several times between two locations. And the travel time varied between a couple hours to most of a day in one case, which was actually correct because the distance is 20 miles on a road built by Romans and has remained a major thoroughfare ever since. Oh, and then one time it took a week to do the same distance. Whatever delay the writer needed to make the story work. That doesn't happen. No! Don't! How about this book that I got to look up commercial plane schedules as the developmental editor? The characters hopped around the world like passports and visas were not real things. Look, even if you have the best forgers in the world available to you, layovers happen. They take a bite out of time. Unless you have a corporate jet. But these people were using commercial airlines. I could look up the schedules. Anyone can look up the schedules. The writer could have looked up the schedule. No! And then there's the book where a train crashes halfway through the journey or state. Or it was really not clear if the halfway part was time or distance. But look. So, as the developmental editor in this one, I was working with something that read pretty much like, if train A leaves station B 3 hours before sunset and the aliens use lasers in their gardening, what is the curtain color of the stagecoach about to be attacked by bandits? You think I'm joking, don't you? You think I don't suffer flashbacks to math problems all the time? Trying to get the timeline of a book correct. Because, believe me, people who live in these places where these things are occurring, such as planet Earth, don't want the wibbly-wobbly time-space matrix mess that is happening. These people live here. They know what's up. If you screw it up this bad, you're throwing them out of the story. Don't do it. Yeah, this one's a real rant. If you go to my blog, I've written about distances, I think 3 times now. It keeps on coming up. I mean, I had 4 examples right here, and I took out a few to save time. But not everyone screws this up. I edited a lovely book by Ms. Hansen. It's called The Company of Death. And it's a road trip, actually. So you would think distances may be a problem. I did end up having to look it up a few where things were located because she's traveling between existing cities on existing roads. And the people on the road trip all had different abilities, so timing had to be worked out. The road trip included a zombie, a robot, a human, and like the title says, the Company of Death. It's the embodied representation of death. All these things go on the road trip together. And she got the distances and timing right. It was so nice. I mean, yeah, the zombies got a little gross at time, and, well, death, does death things. But as an editor, the distances were right. Yeah. So if you like stuff like what we're doing right now, don't forget to like and subscribe below. And if you have the ability, pop over to Patreon to support us. There should be a bar going across the bottom right now. And if you're interested in the Company of Death, stick around to the end. There'll be more details so you can purchase it at your favorite e-storefront. It is also actually available in audiobook now. Pretty awesome stuff. Well, yeah. I love having books come out on audio. Okay, back to distances. Well, if you're, again, we're focusing for the editing rants on genre fiction. So the bonus is if you're a fantasy or science fiction author, you get to make up worlds. So distances don't matter, not like they do in urban fantasy and mystery and thrillers. Not nearly as much. It's because the readers don't live in these worlds. Yet. The distances aren't firm in the first book. In the first book. If it is a series, write the stuff down for the series Bible for future stories. Because you're fans. And you want fans. Your fans who are going to buy all those books of your series, they're going to notice that a 1-hour trip in one book is taking a day in another book. And they're going to bring it up a lot. Everywhere. So keep track of your distances. And in the real world? Yeah, people who care enough about your story they're all going to want it to be real. And therefore, having the real world or your alternate built world, they need to be real. The things that connect them to the world, things that they understand. Your readers want all that magic and fantasy and predictions. But they also need the story to be real. And that's what makes you a good writer, is making your story real, even with wizards. Even with a cop crossing the city during rush hour in a thriller. Even with a heroine on horseback in a Regency romance. Even with a dragon flying across the Pacific Ocean. If they're real-world locations, your reader is going to start connecting the dots. You get too far off reality, even with the magic, the story dies. Now, I'm just saying, don't try and figure out all the distances or work out the timeline to the minute during your first draft, unless it's a thriller. Thrillers, you got a lot of timing that you got to get done. Thrillers, probably you want to plot things out in advance before writing. But for the most part, you want to write flat out your first draft. You can lose all your urgency stopping every 5 minutes to fact check. So just write. Just do that. The first draft will be crap. It should be crap. Give yourself permission for it to be crap. The second draft? Then you start breaking out the maps. Call up the travel times for cars, trains, walking, whatever locomotion you have chosen. Look this stuff up. For the first draft, turn off the internet. For the second draft, turn back on the Wi-Fi and start editing. So the steps are: write your first draft, not worrying about time or distance, just get the stuff out of your head. 2, now that the first draft is done, break out that Google foo. Break out those maps and enter distances, taking account the locomotion. And 3, adjust your story and locations to tighten up the manuscript. Yeah, that's right. You can change things after you write it. You can't change them before you write it, but you can change your story after you write it. You can drop out some of the extra locations if it wrecks your timing for your thriller. Hey, and bonus if you cut that back on your locations and you're hoping your book is picked up for movie rights. Less scenes mean cheaper production, which means it's more likely your book gets out of the option area and into actual production. So, not to cut back scenes initially, but it's something to consider once you start your drafts stage. So, at the end of the day, get the distances right, because your greatest fan is going to live beside that railroad, which has the stagecoach going down it and the aliens gardening with lasers. And they're going to know how long that train takes. So in the comments below, share some of the distance issues you have seen in books, movies, or television. What has stuck with you? This way we can kind of start seeing what works. Community learning is a thing, and examples really help adults get things stuck in their head. If today's editing rant was helpful to you, don't forget to like and subscribe for the videos. Thank you for watching, and travel well. May the road rise to meet your feet.